Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Pitch Side Podcast. I'm your host, the HOD of the PSP. Like, share, comment on the YouTube version, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Enable notifications to receive all the updates from these episodes and all the content on the channel. Follow us on social media and listen on any podcast listening platform. You're welcome. Let's kick things off, I think, from Africa. I think we should kick things off from, as it was the second leg, of course, of the playoffs for the World Cup, and there were some crazy scenarios in these games, of course, across the 5 games that took place yesterday. Let's start, of course, chronologically, and we start from Nigeria, and we start from from Abuja, as Nigeria were held to a draw, but Ghana won all, and thus they were eliminated, and Ghana goes to the World Cup. And it's quite the surprise, really, considering the, let's say, before the game antics and how the game went on for Nigeria and how the momentum was. Not say with Nigeria, but in a way, Nigeria were the stronger of the two sides in terms of just getting through, to the World Cup, and favourites to get through to the World Cup. But Ghana really played 2 games of really good value. The first game was more offensive in Kumasi. Second game in Abuja was pretty more defensive. Thomas Partey's goal in the 10th minute was the lead. A penalty in the 22nd minute for Nigeria. Tristan made it 1-all. Osimhen scored a second, but it was cancelled. And thus, of course, the score remains 1-all. Osimhen missed 2 big chances in the second half to give Nigeria the card and the qualification, but they fail. Ghana goes through, again, I think, in a big surprise as far as the World Cup qualifiers is concerned from Africa, considering the poor African Cup of Nations that they had, and definitely, the momentum leading into this game suggested really that Nigeria should be the side to qualify from this tie. But congratulations, of course, to Ghana on this qualification. And moving on, of course, to Senegal and the new stadium, of course, in Dakar, the Diamandiou Stadium, Stade Me Abdoulaye Wade. Senegal and Egypt, a game that was in pretty more easy things to understand. It was similar in a way to the first game, but of course the difference was that Senegal was the one that scored the early goal in the 4th minute. It was an own goal from Hamdi Fatih after a set piece, and Senegal from there, they didn't really let down. They didn't really give much of the game away. Really, they dominated basically the game. In the second half, they regressed a little bit, but the first half was pretty intense from them, and Egypt, I think, were really, they were decent to an extent, but I think it was much worse in terms of defending than the first game. Shenawi, I think, had to make more saves than the first game. Shenawi had 9 saves to make during the game, which is ridiculous to think about. Gilt-edged chances being missed by Senegal in the first and the second and the extra time as well. So it was quite the extravaganza for Senegal. This game of missing chances. Ismaila Sarr absolutely, made an art of missing chances, I think, in this game. And the game went all the way to penalties. Egypt were not there. Salah, the main man for Egypt, was not there. Didn't really show up to the game. Didn't do much. And Egypt, I thought, made the absolutely killing mistake of being of trying to play physical with Senegal. With these kind of players, Senegal have the quality that they have, the intensity that they have, the difference of levels between the players that Egypt has and the players that Senegal has really made the difference in the end. And in the penalties, Mo Salah steps for the first one and skies it high, and from there it was a ridiculous story. The first 2 penalties were missed by both sides, and then Senegal went to score the rest of the 3, and then the 4th one was missed by Mustafa Mohamed. Edouard Mendy saves it, Zizou missed off target, and Sadio Mane stepped up with the 5th one and scored and took Senegal to the World Cup. Congratulations, much deserved, much anticipated, I would say, and arguably, of course, the side with the most hopes, I would say, on them to do a great World Cup, or to have a great World Cup, and potentially could, increase the importance of the African continent in that World Cup, and really make a case for African football in Qatar 2022. Congratulations for them, and again, much deserved, and hard luck for Egypt in the future. To Algeria, where the second craziest scenario of the day happened. Of course, I promised there's no crazy scenario afterwards. Algeria, of course, went to this game on the back of a great 1-0 win in Yaoundé, and it was a really big point that they will be able to finish the job there, but it was absolutely to the opposite. It was literally the opposite scenario of the game that they had in Cameroon, and while Cameroon dominated the game in the first leg, the second leg was all about Algeria dominating, but Cameroon knew where to sting, and they literally stung them at the worst moment in the 124th minute even of extra time. Karl Toko Ekambi making it 2-1 for Cameroon. It was Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting opening the scoring for Cameroon on a set piece nonetheless, and the second goal for Cameroon was on a set piece. Like, this was a game of set pieces, first leg and second leg considered. Algeria scored from a corner in the 118th minute, and everything looked set to qualify for Algeria, but Toko Ekambi snuck in, and it was an absolute shambles of a defending for the second goal from Algeria, a side that is heralded as one of the best in Africa. It's a shame to see them, commit mistakes like that. The goalkeeper in the first goal, the defenders in the second goal, absolutely ball watching as the ball went through to Ekambi. And Algeria, another disappointment to add to the disappointment of the African Cup of Nations. It's really rough to take, I think, as far as the Algerians are concerned. I think it's really rough to expect them to qualify after the first leg, and then they find themselves disappointed like this. Congratulations, of course, to Cameroon, and hard luck to Algeria, a side that I think prided themselves too much on being one of the best in Africa, and set the bar really, really high, and said that they could win the World Cup. And it's ironic that they didn't even qualify. Morocco versus Congo, there was no dramatic scenario here. It was a straightforward mauling from Morocco. 4-1 it was in Casablanca, in the Stade Mohammed V. It was 4-1. It was an absolute goal fest, I think, as far as Morocco are concerned. A game where the fans had to celebrate, even there were few of them in the stadium. Congo scored a goal by Ben Malango in the 57th minute. That didn't really matter. The game was 4-0 at the time. Ashraf Hakimi was in on the act. Asdin Ounahi made it 1-0. Then to Soudali, the scorer from the first leg, made it 2-0, and Ounahi was back for the third, and Ashraf Hakimi, of course, rounded up in the 69th minute for the fourth goal. Congratulations for Morocco. Also a side that could be having a great World Cup if they improve a little bit. Maybe Hakim Ziyech should reconsider his international retirement. Maybe, I don't really know. But anyway, it was a great game for Morocco, and it was a much deserved win. And of course, finishing and saving. I should have said the last, but frankly, I have more to say about this game than any other game of those. Tunisia qualified after a exhausting 0-0 draw against Mali. The first leg was really bad, but at least we took solace in the fact that we didn't concede a goal there. We had a clean sheet. We won 1-0, and we were back in Tunisia in front of our fans and all of that. But the game was, to be honest, the game was absolutely bad. It was horrific from us, because realistically speaking, we should have controlled the ball. We should have had the tempo of the game underway, but probably it sipped into our heads too much that we are Italy of the African football. That is, we try to stay defending and play on the counter. That doesn't work because we didn't have lots of pace, to be fair. We didn't have lots of pace in the attack. Msakni, I'm sorry, as well as Sleety and Jaziri are not exactly the paciest front three you could have. I thought maybe starting with someone like Hannibal, someone with like Khnisi, who's been in good form. I thought that would have been much, much better than starting with the trio that you used for this game. It is absolutely it was rough to watch. It was legit rough to watch at certain points how this game went about. Mali were dangerous when they could. They scored an early goal, but we were let off by VAR, thankfully, for the intervention of a player in the game after the header. It was a set piece that was defended badly, and we really had some shaky moments during the game. But eventually, I think all what matters at the moment is the qualification. It shouldn't paper over the cracks that we have. It shouldn't paper over the problems that we have. I thought, probably about one or two players were great in this game. I thought Aysal Aidouni was an absolute monster in the midfield. He had so much to do in the midfield, cutting balls, destroying play, right, left, and centre, and he was absolutely tremendous. I think he was about the only outstanding player in the game. He definitely, deserved only for his performance, of course. I think for the late substitutions of Hannibal and Khnisi, who added so much in terms of pressing and really relieving the Tunisian defensive so much stress. I thought the game was absolutely tremendous from them. We deserve to qualify for that, and for that only, and for our spirit, for our spirit of group, and for our real determination to win and to qualify to the World Cup for the second time in a row. Obviously waiting for the draw to happen on Friday, and from the looks of it, I don't think we have much chance of making a great World Cup, because it looks like whatever the group is, we're going to be in for a rough ride in Qatar in November. It's going to be one hell of a group to play in Qatar. But of course, congratulations to us. Absolutely elated that we qualify. But obviously, I'm going to be realistic here for the sake of this podcast. We had a bad game, and we should work from now on sort of rectifying the path, on correcting the mistakes that we have, and to enter the World Cup in the best shape possible. At least we need to, I'm not going to say make it out of the group stage necessarily, but at least we give a good value and for our qualification, because if we qualify and ended up being battered across the group stage games, I don't think that will work. We have to really work on building a side that can compete to qualify for the second round, and to really go one step further than we usually do, because it's embarrassing that this is the 6th time we qualify, and we're probably about the only side in Africa, I mean, with Egypt as well, that didn't really make it in the next round of the qualifiers of the group of the World Cup, after qualifying for it more than once, because, you know, Togo qualified once for the World Cup before. We really have to do it, I think, as far as we're concerned. It's time to step up the level and to decide, yes, we need to qualify for the second round. We don't just go for the sake of going to the World Cup and participating and taking the money from FIFA, and that's it. Congratulations, of course, for us. Congratulations for Morocco, for Ghana, for Senegal, and for Cameroon. Hopefully, these 5 nations give the best of value to African football in the World Cup. To Europe now, and the North Macedonian dream is over as Portugal crushed that dream 2-0 in the final of the playoffs, of course, of Path C. Before the game, there was the feeling that Portugal might have took the game too easy, and during the game itself, for the first 15 or 20 minutes, it looked so, really. For the first half an hour, pretty much, it looked like Portugal took the game for granted, I think, against North Macedonia, who put on a great display in the first half an hour. But the second, but afterwards, I think, the second they conceded the first goal, North Macedonia knew that the game pretty much was over, because they cannot make a comeback from there. They're not going to go for more attacking power, because if they do, Portugal is going to absolutely decimate them. I think a 2-0 result might be very fair. Flattering in a way, maybe, but I think a pretty fair adjustment and assessment of what the game should be, and the quality and the golfing quality between Portugal and North Macedonia, who played with all their heart in the world to try and save the game and take it as deep as possible, really, to embarrass Portugal and to lead them into that sort of panic mode that they sometimes set to. They still had that mode turned on at certain points of the game, but I think, for more or less, this is a game that you'd expected Portugal to dominate and to beat North Macedonia in, and they did. Cristiano Ronaldo had an assist, but I think his contribution to the game is not quite as easy to pick out and really and see. Even, I mean, you cannot really judge it on the heat maps or something like that, because Cristiano Ronaldo, at 37 years of age, is not the same man he once was, and he's not going to run to you with the same amount of kilometers as he used to. Bruno Fernandes was on the brace, of course, for this one. 2-0 for Portugal. Job done. There was nothing really to worry about as far as Portugal are concerned. For this game, I mean, it was a sweat. I mean, they almost sweated it against Turkey, but this one was, I'm not going to say much different, but it was a little bit more comfortable in the end. Portugal managed to take the game 2-0, and keep themselves from conceding a goal that would shake up their sort of plan for the game. Fernando Santos at least made the right substitutions this time around. Although still made one weird substitution where he got in William Carvalho for Otavio, probably for no reason really, because you don't think that Macedonia was going to bombard you with attacks after the second goal looking for an equaliser or a comeback. I didn't think so. I think that Macedonia, the moment they conceded the second, they knew the game was over and they gave up pretty much. That's what happened. They gave up and they really expected and tried to shut up shop and keep the 2-goal gap as it is, and just go home with the lowest of result possible that will keep them honourable. Of course, I think, in my opinion, before we congratulate Portugal and talk about them, I think big credit to North Macedonia, not just for defeating Italy, but for putting a good shift against Portugal for the most part. At least in the first half defensively, they made them work to score that goal, and score those goals in the game. Credit for them for being a side that is making a good account for themselves in the Euros and making a good account for themselves here, and hopefully for them it won't be very far before they make it into their first World Cup, hopefully. In the other game, of course, in these playoffs, it was Poland versus Sweden. Lewandowski is going to be in the World Cup. Afterwards, of course, 2-0, it was him and Piotr Zelensky taking the game for Poland. Of course, they didn't play a really good game, Portugal, from the looks of it. Sweden with a better side, particularly I thought in the second half they were absolutely dominant, but I think Poland's 2 goals were absolutely crucial and came at crucial moments of the game. 5 minutes in the second half for Robert Lewandowski from a penalty, and Piotr Zelensky with the second goal in the 72nd minute, which made it 2-0 for Poland, and Robert Lewandowski will be in the World Cup. And the most important thing of this game is, for me, as a Bayern Munich fan, is that he's not injured. He's fine. He started and he finished the whole game, just fine, which is a real happiness source for me to know that, because we had Champions League football just next week as far as Bayern are concerned, so it's important really to keep the players fit, and these international breaks are absolute messes when it comes to injuries. Ibrahimovic was introduced only for 10 minutes and didn't really do much in the game as far as this is concerned. He touched the ball 3 times in 10 minutes and really didn't do much of it, didn't even take a shot. Sweden have a good side in them, but I think this time around it might just not work for them. I think congratulations, of course, for Portugal. Congratulations for Poland here, and definitely the third playoff is still to be played. It will be in June. It will be played in June. It will be either Scotland versus Ukraine, if that game is going to be played in the first place. Playing, of course, against Wales, who defeated Austria last week. Hopefully we see, for me, hopefully I see a good World Cup for Lewandowski himself. It will boost his Ballon d'Or chances a little bit, if as well as if he wins the Champions League as well. So that's a personal wish for me. Hopefully not the expense of Tunisia in any way, shape or form, but I just hope for him to have a great World Cup in November. And lastly, of course, the last round of the CONMEBOL qualifiers has finally been played, of course, and now we know who will be the sides that will be in the World Cup from South America. It will be Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, Ecuador as the automatic qualifiers, and Peru will make it into the playoffs. Of course, they will wait for the players of Asia, where Australia and the United Arab Emirates are going to be contesting for the playoff spot. The winner, of course, of that will face Peru for the last place in June. It will be the results were like this. Brazil, of course, finished in a style. They still have a game against Argentina, of course, to be played. The game that was suspended because of the COVID regulations and all of that. They finished their campaign technically on a really great note, undefeated, 14 wins and 3 draws after a 4-0 victory over Bolivia in Bolivia, which is a pretty big achievement if you think about it, and if you know the situation in Bolivia and all of that. Uruguay defeated Chile 2-0 away from home as well, which is an important victory for Uruguay, denying Chile even getting close to that playoff spot. Ecuador drawn with Argentina, 1-1, a game that in the grand scheme of things didn't really mean much, although Argentina probably needed it for the personal glory for just winning another game, of course, but they drawn, of course. This is their 6th draw of the campaign, but it won't affect them really that much. Peru defeated Paraguay 2-0 to earn their place in the playoffs, of course, and Venezuela lost at home to Colombia 1-0. Unfortunately for Colombia and for Chile, they will be missing on the World Cup this time around, and Peru again is going to be the side that's going to be playing playoffs. And really, speaking on that note, I believe that they can really have a real good game. Peru, Australia or Emirates, whoever's going to qualify, I think have a good chance against Peru of qualifying to the World Cup. But we'll wait and see what will happen. Of course, in those playoffs, players will be on two legs for both the Asian game and the game against the South American side. Brazil, Argentina, I think, put really good use and a good account that they could be one of the favourites, not could be, two of the favourites to win the World Cup. Actually, they seem even more favourite than some European side. Probably, if you think at the top of your head of European sides favourite of the World Cup, you probably think France, just because of their World Cup winners last time around, Germany, because they're always there in a way, and you can't think of any other team really. I mean, Portugal, maybe, Spain, there's really doubts about all of the other sides aside from France in Europe, but Brazil and Argentina are really making a good case to themselves. Both Messi and Ronaldo will be in the World Cup, so maybe we can see a last stand between those two on the international level. They never had one before, so I expect one in Qatar. It would be pretty dramatic and pretty poetic to have that standoff. Uruguay qualifying, of course, as well, saving themselves the embarrassment because a couple of rounds ago they were on the brink of going out of the group stage. I mean, at the early goings of the campaign, they were really bad. I mean, 6 defeats in the campaign, and they still managed to qualify. Colombia lost less, but they didn't qualify, with 8 draws, of course, the difference really maker, and only 5 wins throughout the campaign. And then there's, of course, Ecuador, a wild card in the South American side, but definitely not as favourite to make a big result or to make a great World Cup as the other 3 are. Anyway, congratulations, of course, for all those 4 sides, and the wait is going to be for Peru if they will be the 5th or not. And let's round it up quickly, I think, for this, and we go to the CONCACAF zone, where it will be I think it's going to be the final round of the action. Of course, Canada, of course, qualified officially. USA and Mexico also qualified. Costa Rica is in the 4th place officially, is going to be the side that will be playing playoffs as well. To qualify for the World Cup. They will be, I think, playing the winners, I think, from the other playoffs in South America. Of course, when Peru plays their game against Australia or Emirates, they will define whether it will be them or Peru that will go through. It's going to be a long way for Costa Rica apparently with the playoffs, but of course, congratulations to Canada, USA and Mexico for the automatic qualification. Canada for the first time since 1986. And I'm happy, I guess, as a Bayern fan personally, for Alphonso Davies. I'm happy to see him have his first World Cup, hopefully in Qatar. And it will be a great experience for them. The games, of course, 4 games will be taking place. It will be Costa Rica versus USA, Jamaica, Honduras, Mexico, Salvador, and Panama playing against Canada, the last round of the qualifiers. The CONCACAF zone has been really interesting this season. This qualification cycle has been interesting. North and Central America. The USA in the early goings didn't really give a good account for themselves, but eventually they found their pace and they won when they needed to win, and they really made amends with the early start that was really, really bad in a way. They lost to Canada and all of that. And then, of course, you have Mexico, who seem to be in and out of form, but in the end they managed to really get a good grip of themselves and qualify to the World Cup. And of course, again, all the talk is about Canada. They're not going to be minnows in any way. They have a good side to really rely on. Of course, Alphonso Davies, Jonathan David, all those other players. Of course, a generation that is really a golden generation as far as Canada is concerned. They definitely haven't been in a good place in football as they are now, with the amount of Canadian players that are blossoming all over Europe, really. Again, on the top of those, Alphonso Davies, surely, I think he will be the captain of the side into that World Cup. It's going to be quite an interesting situation for a 22-year-old player to be a captain of his side in the World Cup. It's going to be really, really interesting for him personally. Congratulations for all of those sides, of course. And thus, I think we could say that the World Cup qualifiers, technically we still have some playoffs to play, but the main qualifiers are over, and we have at least now 27 or 28 sides that we know are in the World Cup. We're still going to be knowing, of course, who's going to be playing, who's going to be the playoffs from Asia. We're still waiting for the playoffs in South America, and we're still waiting if the European playoffs, of course, the last spot in the World Cup for Europe. Who's gonna book it? Is it Wales, Scotland, or Ukraine? That's it for this episode. Like, share, comment on the video on YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel, enable notifications always to receive all the updates from these podcasts, all the content on the channel, of course, and definitely follow us on social media and listen on every podcast listening platform available. Always with HOD of the PSP. Like, share, subscribe. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye. I'll see you soon.